Hey guys, it's your boy Itsu, and this is a guide for tips and tricks on Sorceress. Most of these tips are actually based off of questions that I get asked a lot on stream, which will be stamina management, hotbar rushing crow, 1vx tips, and two of my favorite combos. A lot of people ask me how I manage my stamina so well, or how I move for long periods of time. How I go about this is actually by regularly using skills that do not require stamina for movement capabilities. Those skills in our kit are known as Shadow Leap, Midnight Stinger, Dark Flame, Engulfing Shadow, and Rushing Crow from Hotbar. To give you an idea of how much distance is covered when you use these skills in succession from one another, it takes about 7 iframes, which is about 73% of my overall stamina. My favorite way to engage or disengage using these skills are usually by starting with Shadow Leap, then I tap right click block to cancel the gap at the end of Shadow Leap so that I'm able to follow through into Rushing Crow from Hotbar. Midway through the animation of Rushing Crow, I activate Midnight Stinger into Dark Flame and then Engulfing Shadow. Obviously, not all these skills will always be up, especially when trying to disengage from a sticky situation, so you'll have to be creative. A lot of times I'll have to stop after Shadow Leap, Rushing Crow, Stinger, but it's still a good amount of distance covered. Other uses for using Hotbar Rushing Crow is getting around someone's block quickly, and immediately using Stinger to apply Stiffen to your target. If used quickly, your target will barely have any time to react and it will result in an easy kill. Other movement skills you can utilize that do not consume stamina are Darkness Released and Sinister Shadow. Darkness Release, when holding the key combination SFLB, will send your character flying backwards without using stam. It is good to use when you have little stamina left and need to reposition by a few feet. However, you do not regenerate stamina while this skill is in use, so use it at your own discretion. The next skill, Sinister Shadow, allows you to slightly reposition without consuming stamina. It also changes the orientation of your C-swap, preventing the uppercut animation after WW or Shift S iframe. But not only is it useful, it also looks pretty cool. In the previous section, we talked about tapping RMB block to cancel the gap at the end of Shadow Leap. Expanding onto this, there are other skills I like to use out of Shadow Leap RMB block as well, those skills being Armor Bombs, Shadow Ignition, and Shadow Engulfing. Instances where I like to use bombs out of Shadow Leap is usually as a follow-up CC from Ignition or protected damage from Engulfing Shadow. Next, we will be talking about resetting Scythe iframe and transitioning into pre-awakening instantly with the use of Sinister's Omen. Sinister's Omen is a pre-awakening skill that can be used to reset our Scythe iframe. Night Crow, our pre-awakening iframe, becomes Flow Night Crow in Awakening stance. Flow Night Crow has a 2-second cooldown, meaning after iframing and awakening, you have to wait about 2 seconds before you can do it again. If you use the skill Sinister's Omen and or Dark Trade, you can bypass Flow Night Crow CD and do it once more. However, I prefer not to use Dark Trade to bypass Flow Night Crow's cooldown unless absolutely needed, since I'd prefer to save it for obtaining 30 shards. A lot of grab classes will prioritize grabbing you when your scythe is out, so it's nice to use these scythe resets as sort of a mind game to bait and catch them off guard. Alternatively, Sinister's Omen can be used a different way in Awakening as well. Let's say you are in an instance where you have no stamina in scythe but have 30 shards that if you were in pre-awakening, you could absorb the iframe out of a sticky situation. You can use Sinister's Omen when you don't have enough stamina in Scythe to transition instantly into pre-awaken and iframe away. Be careful, however, since if you have enough stamina iframe, you would just reset your Scythe iframe instead of transitioning into pre-awaken. So when 1vxing, there are a few rules that I follow. The first one is using less skills depending on the number of people that are around. Typically, you should use less skills when there are a lot of people around so that you are less likely to be caught. If not, it becomes a huge risk to use multiple abilities in succession of each other. For example, if there are 2 or 3 people around, I'm more likely to take a risk and throw Shadow Eruption and Shadow Ignition back to back and try to burst them and take them out. However, when the player count around me rises to about 5 or 6, I will stop combining skills and just use one at a time while constantly trying to reposition through use of iframes. Skills I will typically use in 1vx situations are usually Shadow Eruption, Shadow Ignition, Engulfing Shadow, Dark Flame, Imminent Doom, turn back slash, and BSR Grim, as well as Bloody Calamity. That doesn't mean don't use other skills like Dead Hunt to finish someone off when they are low, but just realize that puts you more at risk of dying, so use with caution. The next section will be about 2 of my favorite combos since it's asked a lot. The first combo will be the Dead Hunt combo. It goes like this. First I start with a catch like Shadow Eruption, immediately crit buff myself throwing Absolute Darkness, and instantly going into Dead Hunt by holding SC swap. After the 3rd hit of Dead Hunt, your opponent will be KD'd. If they resist the 3rd hit, the 4th hit of Dead Hunt can KD as well. If they resist the 4th hit, I usually just uninstall the game. After the KD from Dead Hunt goes through, I Midnight Stinger to make sure I have the crit buff from it while simultaneously putting myself into Pre-Awakening stance. Afterwards, I apply Crow Flare as filler damage and use Beat Kick for a 9% evasion debuff. Next I throw Shards of Explosion, Imminent Doom, Shadow Ignition, and BSR turn back slash. My second favorite combo is a lot more simple. First I get a catch with, let's say, Shadow Eruption. Next, I then self-crit buff with Absolute Darkness and walk up to my target and use Darkness Release for KD. While my target is in the air, I use Shadow Ignition. Not only is Ignition good damage, but while your target is in the air from Darkness Release KD, they will take more damage from Ignition due to the air attack modifiers. Of course, if Ignition isn't up, you can skip it and save it for the later parts of the combo. After Ignition, I do BSR turn back slash, 2 hits of Dead Hunt, then I tap my RMB block key to cancel the Linger animation from the 2nd hit of Dead Hunt. Then I do a side swipe to instantly throw Blades of Darkness for the down smash, and I'll either Midnight Stinger, Shadow Eruption, Imminent Doom, Shadow Engulfing, or use anything else I can use as filler damage like Bloody Calamity before my opponent gets up. And that's the video! Hopefully you guys could learn a thing or two from this video whether you were new or a veteran. You guys can find me live streaming at twitch.tv/etsu__. Other helpful streams and videos to learn from will be up here and will be put in the link in the description below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't be afraid to ask me questions on stream or send me a DM on Twitch or Discord. See you next video.